industrial system has inflicted on our community. I believe this is happening to us. So America would never do a thing like this.
Emma Goldman dedicated her life to the creation of a radically new social order. Convinced that the political and economic organization of society was fundamentally unjust, she embraced anarchism for the vision it offered of liberty, harmony, and true social justice. For decades, she struggled tirelessly against widespread inequality, repression, and exploitation. And she called for people to embrace love as the foundation of society.
What is patriotism? Is it the love of one's birthplace, the place of childhood recollections and hopes, dreams and aspirations? Is it the place where we would listen to the music of the birds and have the wings, and long to have the wings to fly, even as they to distant lands? Or the place where we would sit at mother's knee, enraptured by wonderful tales of great deeds and conquests? If that were patriotism, few American men of today would be called on to be patriotic, since the place of play has turned into factory, mill, and mine, while deafening sounds of machinery have replaced the music of the birds. What then is patriotism? Patriotism, sir, is the last resort of scoundrels, said Dr. Samuel Johnson. Indeed, conceit, arrogance, and egotism are the essentials of patriotism. Let me illustrate. Patriotism assumes that our globe is divided into little spots, each one surrounded by an iron gate. And those who have had the fortune of being born on one particular spot consider themselves better, nobler, grander, and more intelligent than the human beings living on any other spot. It is therefore the duty of everyone living upon that spot to fight, kill, and die in an attempt to impose his superiority upon the others. It is for that purpose that we are clamoring for a greater Army and Navy, more battleships, more ammunition. An Army and Navy represents the people's toys. To make them more attractive and acceptable, hundreds and thousands of dollars are being spent on the display of these toys. That was the purpose of the American government in equipping a fleet and sending it along the Pacific coast, that every American citizen should be made to feel the pride and the glory of the United States. Yes, $260,000 were spent on fireworks, theater parties, and revelries at a time when men, women, and children, through the breadth and length of the country, were starving in the streets, when thousands of unemployed were ready to sell their labor at any price. $260,000. What could not have been accomplished with such an enormous sum? But instead of bread and shelter, the children of those cities were taken to see the fleet, that it may remain, as one of the newspapers said, a lasting memory for the child. If the mind of the child is to be poisoned with such memories, what hope is there for true realization of human brotherhood? We Americans claim to be a peace-loving people. We hate bloodshed, we are opposed to violence, yet we go into spasms of joy over the possibility of projecting dynamite bombs from flying machines upon helpless citizens. We are ready to hang, electrocute, or lynch anyone who from economic necessity will risk his own life in an attempt upon that of some industrial magnate. Yet our hearts swell with pride at the thought of America becoming the most powerful nation on the earth, that it will eventually plant her iron foot on the necks of all other nations. Such is the logic of patriotism. Thinking men and women the world over are beginning to realize that patriotism is too narrow and too limited a conception to meet the necessities of our time. The centralization of power has brought into being an international feeling of solidarity among the oppressed nations of the world. A solidarity which represents a greater harmony of interests between the working man of America and his brothers abroad than between the American miner and his exploiting compatriot, A solidarity which fears not foreign invasion, because it is bringing all the workers to the point where they will say to their masters, go and do your own killing. We have done it long enough for you. This solidarity is awakening the consciousness of the soldiers, they too being the flesh of the great American family. A solidarity that has proven infallible more than once during past struggles, and which has been the impetus inducing the Parisian soldiers during the Commune of 1871 to refuse to obey when ordered to shoot their brothers. It will eventually bring about the uprising of all the oppressed and downtrodden against their international exploiters. When we have undermined that patriotic lie, we shall have cleared the path for the great structure wherein all nationalities shall be united into a universal brotherhood, a truly free society.